This is UMAR AHMED for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. As I always say, it's not a fight week if I don't see Dan Rafael, especially in the States. I want to take your mind back to Vegas. We were out for Fury Wallin, didn't speak to you after the fight. It was an eventful fight. We didn't really expect it to be that competitive, obviously, because of the cuts. What did you make of the fight, Dan?
First of all, it was a very entertaining fight. I mean, if you bought a ticket or you watch it on ESPN Plus, you got your time and money's worth because it was a really outstanding fight. Obviously made that way partly because of the drama, because of the cut that Tyson Fury suffered in the fight. But Wallin showed that he was a lot better than a lot of people had expected. And Tyson Fury showed that even in a very, very difficult situation, that he's got the heart and the guts to get through a really rough fight. And he did. With that cut was as bad as anything I've ever seen since probably when Lennox Lewis cut open Klitschko, many years ago. It was a bad, bad cut.
Ben Davison and Tyson received a fair bit of criticism for that performance. Do you think that was justified?
I don't think so. I mean, not every single time you fight is going to be a lights-out performance. I mean, they're human beings and things happen in fights, and I don't think that Tyson Fury should be criticized. I mean, to me, he showed great heart and did a hell of a job to get through the fight and legitimately win the fight. And, just because a guy struggles doesn't all of a sudden mean that a guy like Ben, who's been lauded as this great up-and-coming trainer, and his guy might have a tough night, now all of a sudden he's terrible. I mean, I try to keep things a little more on an even keel. I don't try to get too high or too low. Now it's on to the next one.
Have you heard anything about the cut, when he's going to be training again, etc.?
Well, I mean, he took the mandatory suspension from the commission, so, he won't be able to have contact for 60 days, I believe was what the suspension was. But, he'll be okay. I mean, the fight with Deontay Wilder's not supposed to be until near the end of February. Wilder still has a fight to take care of between now and then anyway. There's no hurry for Fury to get back in there, but he should be okay and have time. And listen, if in fact for some reason the cut is got problems healing the right way, the medical people will tell him, and they'll, if they have to, they'll postpone the fight. I mean, you can't go into a fight that important unless you're 100%. I said this to somebody else after the fight. Not 98%, not 99%. The cut's got to be 100%.
That leads me on nicely to Wilder Ortiz. Are you surprised Wilder's taken that rematch?
Not totally. I mean, that was a fight that Ortiz was promised by AHMED when they turned down the offer to be the replacement to fight Anthony Joshua. And I don't think Deontay has a problem fighting anybody. Deontay's been willing to fight top guys. I mean, he maybe hasn't had the opportunity to fight every top guy, but he certainly took the opportunity to fight Tyson Fury. He's taken him in the rematch if he wins. He fought Ortiz when nobody else wanted to. He's taken Ortiz in the rematch. Credit to him.
Dan, what do you make of the fact that Wilder Brazil was on Showtime? They paid quite a lot of money, I'm guessing, for that fight to be on Showtime, and now this is going to be on Fox PPV, the Ortiz rematch.
I think PBC has a very lucrative relationship with Fox. They believe that Fox, because of its broadcast platform, brings more to the table in terms of promotion than Showtime does. Now, Showtime, they could use their sister network, CBS, which is just as big as Fox, but there doesn't seem to be a movement necessarily to do that. So for the time being, it seems as though Fox is going to move some of their bigger events over to, or PBC is going to move some of their bigger events over to Fox pay-per-view.
There was reports that Spence Porter did 300,000 buys on Fox pay-per-view. Do you know anything about that, Dan?
You know what? The numbers are right now, a lot of it's just rumor. So I'm not going to speculate.
Fair enough. Moving back to the heavyweight division, bit sad news really. Joseph Parker is out of his fight with Derek Chisora. We're really looking forward to that in the UK. Who do you think Del Boy should fight next, or who would you like to see him fight next? And can you just tell us about Joseph's spider bite?
Well, supposedly he got bit by a spider and caused an illness, and he was, been ill for a better part of a week plus, and was not able to train properly and withdrew from the fight. So I spoke to Eddie Hearn here at this weigh-in for the Triple G fight against Derevyanchenko and asked him about the possible replacements. He mentioned a couple of names they're considering. Nothing's done, he said, but the names that they were talking about were people like David Price, Michael Hunter, Manuel Char. Those were the main names.
Is there anyone you'd like to see in particular?
I mean, if I'm Eddie and I can get the fight done, I think the British fans would like to see a fight between Chisora and David Price. I mean, maybe it's not the most meaningful, biggest fight on the world stage, but for the British audience, that's a fun, exciting fight. David's a very popular figure. He always comes to fight. Chisora, same thing. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be a fun fight to watch.
Fair enough. Okay, we are here for big drama show. Gennady Golovkin back to the Garden. Break the fight down with me with Sergey Derevyanchenko. Do you think people are overlooking Sergey a bit?
I mean, when you have Golovkin as your opponent, it's, any opponent is going to, I won't say overlook, but is going to be the underdog, let's say, unless he was fighting a Canelo caliber opponent. So I think most people have great respect for what Sergey Derevyanchenko brings to the ring. He's a very talented fighter, was a tremendous amateur, gave Danny Jacobs a really close, tough fight when they fought for the vacant belt back in October. So there's a reason why he's that he's the underdog in this fight. And I think most people believe that Triple G will win the fight, but I don't know if they think it's necessarily an easy win. I expect there to be some competition.
What do you think will happen with Golovkin next? We've heard Canelo come out and say he doesn't need the trilogy. He doesn't want to give Gennady the trilogy. What do you think will happen with Gennady next? What's your gut instinct saying?
Well, look, he's got to win the fight Saturday, and whatever happens with Canelo's fight, that's the fight that Triple G is going to want to have. That's the fight that DAZN is going to want to make. And frankly, it's going to be up to Triple G. It's going to be up to Canelo, really, if he's going to decide to do the third fight. If not, as Golovkin has said during the lead up to this fight, we'll move on and look for another unification, whether that means fighting an Andrade or trying to lure Charlo or some other top guy. Maybe he'll try to go to super middleweight and look for some action up there. It remains to be seen. But it's silly to speculate on Triple G's next opponent before Canelo fights against Kovalev.
Eddie's just signed Billy Joe Saunders, a guy that can fight at 60 or 68. How do you think he gets on with Gennady?
It's an interesting fight, I suppose. I don't personally have great desire to see that. I'd rather see a bunch of other fights first. But if they can make the match, so be it.
I think a lot of fans in the UK are calling for it. He's not really known here, Billy Joe, but he's going to have that fight on the KSI Logan Paul undercard, which should give him a lot of exposure. What do you make of two YouTube headlining the Staples Center?
Look, I got no problem with it. A lot of people are criticizing, it's a nonsense fight, they're not real fighters. To me, if the people demand it and want to see it, they're interested and willing to pay for it, and it's being regulated legitimately by a commission like California, and they're evenly matched. The exhibition was a draw. They're being licensed as professionals. It's their pro debuts. At least it's an even match. And if people want to see it, far be it for me to criticize it. I think it's actually not a bad thing. It'll bring a new audience to that particular card. And so boxers like a Billy Joe Saunders, like a Devin Haney, will have the opportunity to see more experienced professionals at the top level, and maybe they'll become fans. If a million people watch the fight and 10% become a Devin Haney fan, that's more fans than he would have added going into the show. So to me, I don't see it as a problem. I'm not that stuck up to think that they can't. Why let them have a fight? If people want to buy it and pay for it, good for them.
Will you be tuning in, Dan?
I'll be watching, absolutely. There's an ESPN card that same night. Obviously going to try to go and watch both, but I have no problem, and I'm interested to see what happens, just because it is a little bit of a spectacle. Okay,
just lastly, a big ESPN card due for, I think, December 14th here at the Garden. Conlan, Crawford, we've got the Lopez Commey fight as well. You looking forward to that, Dan?
Yeah, it should be a great show. Now, the Crawford fight is not done yet. Hopefully he works that out. But if it works out like that, it'll be Crawford in his mandatory against Kavalauskas. You got an excellent fight with Commey against Lopez. Michael Conlan's supposed to have the rescheduled rematch with Nikitin, who had that very controversial victory against him in the Olympics. So between those three fights, it will draw a very good crowd. It'll be exciting, and I look forward to it.
Should be a special occasion. It'll be near Christmas time at the Garden. So yeah, we look forward to that. Dan, thank you for your time here in New York, and I will see you tomorrow at Fight Night.
I look forward to it. My pleasure.
Cheers. Thank you, Dan. Top man.